When I was 11, my best friend Chris and I decided to do something stupid. Spend the night in the abandoned house at the end of Hollow Creek Road. Everyone in town knew the story. The family who lived there vanished one night in 1978. No bodies, no clues, just gone. People said you could still hear the father's voice calling out for his son after midnight. We thought it was an urban legend, until we decided to prove it wrong. We sneaked out around 11:30 p.m. and biked down the long dirt road. The house stood at the edge of the woods, rotting and leaning to one side. The porch sagged and the windows were boarded up, except for one on the second floor that flickered faintly, as if a candle were burning inside. Inside, the air was thick with dust and mold. Every step echoed. We set up our sleeping bags in what used to be the living room and started telling ghost stories, laughing to keep the fear away. But the laughter didn't last. Around midnight, we heard it, a thud upstairs. Then another, like someone walking slowly across the floor. We froze. The sound moved toward the top of the stairs. I turned off my flashlight. The silence that followed was heavier than the dark. Then out of nowhere, something rolled down the staircase, an old, cracked red ball. It stopped at the bottom step and swayed slightly, like someone had just pushed it. A moment later, a voice drifted down, low, hoarse, and angry. Who's playing with my son's toy? Chris bolted for the door, but it slammed shut before he could reach it. We pulled at the handle, but it wouldn't budge. Then the footsteps started again, slow, deliberate, coming down the stairs. A tall, gaunt figure appeared in the dim light. His face was pale, his eyes hollow. He was holding something, a lantern, flickering weakly. "He's sleeping," he said softly, "but don't wake him." His skin was gray, and his mouth, it was stitched shut. Chris screamed. I yanked him away, and somehow the door gave in. We ran until we reached the road. We didn't look back. The next morning, we told Chris's dad. He called the police, thinking someone might actually be living there. They went in and searched the entire house. They found the red ball, and in one of the upstairs bedrooms, they found a child's bed covered in dust, with the outline of a small body still pressed into it. There were no footprints, no signs of anyone else, just that bed. 2 weeks later, the house burned down. No one knows how. The fire department said it started upstairs, in the room with the bed. But here's the thing. The night before the fire, my dad was driving home late and passed Hollow Creek Road. He swears he saw a boy standing in the middle of the street holding a red ball. When he slowed down, the boy smiled and vanished. When I was 10, my grandmother passed away, and we moved into her old Victorian house in upstate New York. The house was beautiful but eerie, creaky floors, cold spots, and a faint smell of lavender that never went away. The one thing that truly bothered me was the mirror in the upstairs hallway. It was tall, gold-framed, with cracks running along the edges like spider webs. My mom said it had been in the family for over 100 years. I always felt like my reflection looked wrong in it, delayed, off somehow. One night, as I walked past it to go to my room, I saw something that stopped me. My reflection smiled, but I wasn't smiling. I screamed for my mom, but when she came, the reflection was normal again. She said I was tired and sent me to bed. Over the next few days, the strange things got worse. The air around the mirror was always colder. I'd see flickers of movement when no one was near it, like someone walking just out of frame. Then one night, during a thunderstorm, the power went out. As I shone my flashlight down the hallway, the beam caught the mirror, and for a split second, I saw a girl standing behind me. She looked about my age, but she was drenched, like she just climbed out of a lake. I dropped the flashlight and screamed. When my parents came running, she was gone, but there were small wet footprints on the floor in front of the mirror, leading nowhere. The next day, I noticed something on the glass, faint fingerprints, small, child-sized. They were on the inside of the mirror. My parents didn't believe me until my mom saw it too. That night, she covered the mirror with an old bedsheet, but I still heard it, faint tapping like fingernails against glass coming from underneath the sheet. At around 2 a.m., I woke up and saw that the sheet had fallen off. The mirror was uncovered, and there, standing behind my reflection, was the girl again, this time closer. Her mouth was moving, forming words I couldn't hear. I got closer, trembling, and then her lips suddenly matched mine, like she was whispering through me. I could feel her breath on my neck, even though she was behind the glass. The next morning, the mirror had cracked down the center. My mom finally decided to move it to the attic. When my dad picked it up, he dropped it immediately. There was a small handprint on the back of the mirror, pressed deep into the wood, as if from the inside. We stored it upstairs and locked the attic door. But a few nights later, my mom found that the door was wide open. The mirror was gone. We searched the entire house. Nothing. No broken glass, no drag marks, nothing. It just vanished. Years later, when we sold the house, the new owner mentioned something odd. He said every morning there was condensation on one wall of the upstairs hallway, in the shape of a rectangle, like something had been leaning there for a long time. Sometimes I wonder if that mirror is still out there, somewhere in someone else's house, waiting for the next person to walk by. I grew up in a quiet rural town where the nights were darker than anything I've ever seen since. There weren't any streetlights, and when the moon was gone, you could barely see your own hand in front of your face. My parents' house sat at the end of a dirt road surrounded by tall trees that pressed against the windows when the wind blew. 8 years old when I first heard the whisper. That night was freezing, the kind of cold that makes the walls groan. I'd fallen asleep early but woke up to a strange noise, a faint scratching sound under the bed. I thought maybe it was a mouse. Then I heard a voice. It wasn't loud, but it was close. So close it felt like it came from right beneath my pillow. It whispered to Daniel. My body went stiff. I kept my eyes shut, pretending to be asleep. The voice came again, this time drawn out and quieter at Daniel. Come down here. I wanted to scream for my mom, but the air in my lungs turned to ice. The whisper sounded wet, like someone trying to speak through water. I stayed frozen until sunlight started leaking through the curtains. When I finally looked under the bed, there was nothing. Just dust and one of my toy trucks. The next night, it happened again. Then again, always around the same time, between 2 and 3 a.m., always whispering my name. Sometimes giggling softly afterward. I told my dad, but he just laughed it off. He said the house was old and that I was hearing the pipes creak. But one night, the whisper changed. It didn't just call my name. It said, Daniel, look under. I don't know what made me do it. Maybe curiosity, maybe exhaustion. But I leaned over the edge of my bed and looked down. What I saw wasn't right. There was a face under there, pale, grinning. Its eyes wide open, staring straight at me. I screamed so loud my parents ran in, but when they turned on the light, the space under my bed was empty again. My dad checked every inch of the floor, even pulled the bed away from the wall. Nothing, but I could see it. On the wooden boards under the bed, a smear of dirt shaped like a handprint. Small, human. For the next week, I refused to sleep in that room. My parents thought I was being dramatic. One night, my mom tucked me in and said, Honey, there's nothing under your bed. She leaned down to show me and froze mid-sentence. Her face went pale. She stood up, forced a smile, and told me to sleep in their room for the night. She didn't explain what she saw. Not then. But years later, she admitted she'd seen 2 small eyes staring back at her and something had moved. 2 days after that, my dad nailed wooden boards around the bottom of my bed frame, sealing the space shut. He said it was for my peace of mind. A few weeks later, he went into the crawl space under the house to fix some wiring. When he came back, he was white as chalk. He told my mom there were claw marks under the floor, directly beneath my room, and something that looked like a small nest made of fabric and hair. We moved 3 months later. Even now, decades later, sometimes when I wake up at night and the room feels too still, I swear I hear that same whisper, muffled and distant, like it's just beneath the floorboards. Waiting. And that sleepy soul was tonight's nightmare. 3 stories. 3 memories I'll never escape. Maybe you believe them. Maybe you don't. But if you ever hear a whisper under your bed, see your reflection move on its own, or pass a flickering window in an abandoned house, just remember, every story starts as someone's truth. So sleep well tonight if you can.